So if you started building on Twin and you're wondering why some runs cost more than others, or how to get the most out of your credits on Twin, this video is for you. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to use your credits to the best of your ability so that you can get the most out of them, and also some things that you might not even know about the credit. So firstly, how do the credits actually work? So every credit on Twin costs around 1 cent of usage. Credits are consumed by the AI model making decisions. So every input, every output, every step that the agent has to do costs credits. And not all credits cost the same. In simple terms, the more reasoning that the AI model has to do, the more expensive it will be. And that actually brings me on to the most important part of this entire video, which is the two different modes that Twin operates on. So there are two different important modes that you need to understand with Twin. There's build mode and there's run mode. Build mode is when you're creating or updating an agent. Twin uses its highest reasoning AI to interpret your goal, plan the steps, wire up different integrations, and handle all of the different edge cases. This is by far the most credit intensive thing that you can do on the platform, whereas run mode is when you're already deployed your agents, everything's already done, and all that you need it to do is just execute the actual automation. Now, because of this, it uses a lightweight model of Twin that leverages everything inside of the agent and everything that it's already learned in the past. And because of this, it typically costs around 12 times less than the build mode. So in simple terms, it uses more credits for the build mode because it's coming up with the idea, strategizing, thinking for you on your behalf. And then the run mode is very, very cheap and costs a fraction of what it costs for the build mode because it's just executing the actual automation itself, if that makes sense. And the best part is the more you use the automation and the more you run it, the cheaper it will be. Unlike other applications where the cost is kind of set in stone, you'll actually get cheaper and cheaper to use with the run mode the more you actually use the automation, which is amazing if you really think about it. So in a sense, the automations are going down in price the more you use them, which is absolutely insane. So with all this in mind, pragmatically, what does this actually look like? So when you're in the orchestrator building a new agent, treat the build phase as an investment of your credits, essentially. Really take the time to get it right when it comes to the build. Run it, review the output, refine the instructions, run it again, figure out is this exactly what I actually want from this automation, and spend most of the credits and the time in that phase. Because once it's done, we can just switch to run mode and then it will become a fraction of the cost and get cheaper and cheaper over time. So just make sure to use most of your credits in the build mode because you're going to get way more value and you're actually going to get the automation you want. There's nothing worse than having to go back and change the entire automation. That's just going to waste credits. Now, inevitably, when you do build automations, you will have to make some changes. Now, when you do want to go ahead and make those changes, keep them really small. Edit the agent's instructions directly instead of vibe coding with it inside of the orchestrator. By just editing the instructions, it's going to be much cheaper and it's really not going to cost you any money at all to make those small changes. The second tip I want to give you is use integrations and APIs way more than where you use the browser automation. Let me explain why. This is by far one of the biggest levers that you can pull inside of Twin when it comes to controlling the cost of credits. Not all execution paths inside of Twin cost the same, and the browser automation is by far the most expensive. When Twin needs to complete a task, it follows a priority order. First, it looks for built-in tools, integrations, things like web searching, things like that. Now, the cool thing is with Twin is that we've already set this up for you. So no matter what happens, it will automatically look for integrations, APIs, the cheapest options for you first. And then if it can't figure it out, then it will switch to a web-based model. Now, this web desktop mode is really cool because it's going to be moving around on the screen just like you would, and you don't even have to have your laptop on for it to be doing this. But the problem is that it does cost the most. And some automations might require this. You might need this as part of the automation. But where possible, try and avoid using this as much as possible because it will drain your credits. And ultimately, integrations and APIs will always work better than, agent moving around on the screen. So just keep that in mind. But to be honest, it is really cool because if something breaks in your automation and it really can't figure it out within the integrations and the APIs, it will quite literally just log on like you would to go ahead and fix it. And it's really cool in that sense. This is why it's also really important with Twin to explain to it what tools you want it to use. And again, Twin will do this automatically for you. But if you say under no circumstances do I want you to use the browser function, then it won't use it. But 99% of the time, you don't need to explain that to Twin. Automatically, it's going to look for APIs, integrations, and so on, but just something to keep in mind. And the third and final tip that I want to give you is to write specific instructions. This one is huge, and at the end of the day, this is where most people leave money on the table and credits on the table. If you give the agent vague instructions, it's going to have to go through more retries, more reasoning steps, and ultimately this is going to cost more money. If you're very specific in its instructions of this is what I want you to do, this is the goal, this is the plan, it will cost less money. So when you're writing a prompt inside of Twin, think first about these 5 different things. Number 1, what is the source? So where is the data coming from? You can name the exact app, like, HubSpot or ClickUp, for example. The second is what are the filters and the constraints? So, things like date ranges, statuses, owners, thresholds, for example. Be very specific. The third would be what is the output format? So should it be in a table? Should it be in a CSV? Should it be in the interface option that we have inside of Twin? Just tell it exactly what you want. And then fourth, you can tell it where do you actually want this output to go. You can name an exact destination. For example, you could name an exact Google Sheet or an exact Slack channel, for example. You can just tell it exactly where you want this information to go. And finally, explain to it what you actually want it to look like. So what is the definition of done of this automation? Be very specific about this and give as much context as possible, and you will make it so that every single time you build something, you're getting what you want first try. If I could boil this entire video down into one single sentence, it would be to give as much context as possible to the agent so that it can do it in one shot. And as an example, I'll give you a good example of what a prompt sounds like. For example, you could say, every day at 8 a.m., pull yesterday's new leads from HubSpot, exclude any duplicate emails, and append them to my inbound leads Google Sheet. And then I also want you to send me a 5 bullet point summary email with the total counts and the top 3 companies that are on that list. And I can also say that the automation will be finished when it's updated the sheet and the emails have officially been sent. That level of being specific is exactly what Twin needs. And you can get away with not being that specific, but if you want to save credits, which is the whole point of this video, then I would urge you to do it in that way. Now, we've baked 99% of this inside of Twin, so you don't even really need to do any of this, but I just wanted to make this video so that you can get the most out of it, because if you're anything like me, I'm constantly trying to maximize the amount of credits that I use on all of these different tools, and I wanted to put something together to give you some help. So I hope this video was valuable to you, and I'll see you in the next video.